Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the Demolition class characters, and keep in mind this is before the latest 5.1 character bot update. So Galvatron, I'm going to tell you guys right now, he's going to be last on this list, but after the update I think maybe we can switch him around a little bit. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So let's get started. Coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Ironhide. He has still yet to be dethroned from any other of the demo bot class characters, and his signature Obliteration has a 50% chance to obliterate the opponent with 200% extra crit damage on special attacks once per fight. That's the only downside to this signature. It only activates once during the battle, so I think it's a really good signature for characters that have like less than, I would say, 40,000 health. It allows Ironhide, a fully maxed Ironhide out, to completely burst and one-shot somebody with either his special 2 or his special 3, so I think that makes him really good there. I think on characters like in ROK that have a bunch of health, I don't think the signature is super good, but for, I would say, 99% of the battles, Ironhide is amazing to take along. He has increased crit damage whenever he's attacked for 8 seconds. His heavy attack has a chance to inflict burn, which you can continuously spam, and that's one of the things I love doing with him. Just stacking a bunch of burns on the opponent and seeing them slowly tick away. His missiles have a 100% chance to crit, and they also have a 70% chance to inflict burn over 4 seconds, and stacking these burns deal 30% attack. So after the first one, I think it's like 50 something percent attack that it does over 4 seconds, and then any other extra stacking ones will only do 30% attack, but it's still fine. I mean, Ironhide, those burns, man, if you stack quite a few of them, you just see the opponent's health just completely melt. His special one has an 80% chance to stun. It only shoots out 1 missile, so 1 chance to inflict burn. His special 2 has a 60% chance to increase crit damage by 54% for 4 seconds, and it shoots out 5 missiles. So I like the special 2. It works in combination with the signature where you can stack a little bit extra crit damage, so a little bit more burst. So I think that one works really well. And finally, his special 3 has a 30% chance to inflict a burn that lasts twice as long. His special 3, I think, does the most damage in combination with the signature. His special 2 does quite a bit, but I do think the special 3 does a bit more. What was I gonna say? I think it works best if you get hit. That way you get that crit damage buff. Then you use like a special 2 to increase your crit damage even more. And if the signature activates, that's an insane amount of crit damage. And every missile is gonna crit, so you're gonna be doing crazy amounts of damage. And Ironhide, with all this kit around his crit damage, his crits, his burns, I feel like he's going to remain as like the number 1 demo class for quite a while in the foreseeable future. I don't see anyone taking him down anytime soon. Right behind Ironhide, we have Megatron. His signature is All Hail Megatron. At signature level 5, he repairs 15.8% max health over 3 seconds. Whenever his health drops below 10%, it can only activate once per fight. And Alliance Mission Megatron, I think he's at like signature 99. He heals for like over 50% of his health. It's pretty crazy, and I guess a really high signature Megatron can definitely help you survive battles where you're close to losing. You just repair up and keep on going. His passive, he gains 10% armor, so it makes him kind of tanky. Whenever his health drops below 80, 60, and 40%, he gets an unstoppable buff for 3 seconds, and whenever he misses a heavy, he increases his attack by 40% for 10 seconds. I think this one's really good. As soon as your health drops below one of those, activate a heavy or just keep spamming your heavy and pray that the opponent sidesteps, and that'll give you a 40% attack increase for 10 seconds, which I think it's really good. His attacks inflict impair charges, and each heavy on his heavies, each impair charge grants him 5% crit chance. So at 10 impaired charges, you have 50% crit chance, and of course at 20, you're guaranteed to crit on your next heavy, which is amazing. And the second part of this is on each heavy crit, each impaired charge will inflict an additional 2% crit damage. So it just increases your crit damage. Basically at 20 impaired charges, you're guaranteed to crit, and you'll deal an additional 20% crit damage. His special 1 will inflict 10 impair charges, special 2 has range damage increased by 30% and speed for 6 seconds, and his special 3 will automatically inflict 20 impair charges and land a heavy on the last part. So overall, I think Megatron, the way I mainly play him is by just spamming the special 1s and then doing heavies just to keep getting consistent impair charges on the opponent, consistent crits, consistent crit damage and all that good stuff. And surprisingly, I don't like using like a special 2. It does like the same damage over the 3 shots, which I think it's fine, but I think the impair charges are a little bit better, as well as the special 3. It's okay, it's decent, but I think just stacking consistent impair charges and using heavies is the way to go with Megatron. Coming in at number 3, we have the legendary Mixmaster, aka Mix Daddy. I know I bash on him a lot, but he's not that bad. He's actually pretty good if you can time his specials with the debuffs, like acids, burns. He can do surprising amounts of damage. I've seen him like one-shot characters that are like a little bit over half health, so he can do damage. His signature concussive block at 20, blocking reduces up to 20.4% damage based on Mixmaster's health. Well-timed blocks, aka parries, will parry the opponent's melee attack, dealing 40% attack and providing a special or crit damage buff. He generates a special damage buff every 5 seconds, and once he's maxed out, he'll start generating the crit damage buffs for a max of 6 stacks, and the buffs are removed on the last hit of a special. He's one of the only characters that can inflict acid, and he has a 25% chance to inflict the acid debuff for 9 seconds, dealing 53% attack and removing a resistance buff every second. So he's a perfect counter to Ultra Magnus. On his specials, they have a plus 50% crit rate on debuffed opponents. His special 2 has a 60% chance to burn, dealing 100% attack over 8 seconds, and his special 3 has a 70% chance to burn, dealing 120% attack over 8 seconds, and 100% chance to apply acid, 106 attack over 16 seconds. So in those 16 seconds, all 10 of Ultra Magnus's resistance buffs can basically go away. So if you know how to play him correctly, I feel like Mixmaster can honestly do crazy amounts of damage, and he's a pretty good character overall. Surprisingly, I know some of you guys aren't going to believe me on this, but he's not bad. Up next, we have Waspinator. He was the first 4-star that I duped and took up to rank 2, and then I put him on my base as a defender, where he completely excelled and took out a whole bunch of teams just by himself on laser guidance module back when it was really strong. But ever since the nerf to that mod, I feel like Waspinator is still pretty decent as a base defender, and overall he does some pretty good damage. His signature, Waspinator, lives at Sig 15. Upon his death, he'll purify all debuffs and revive with 6.6% health. I don't think at the lower Sig it's that good. I feel like the 6.6% health in like 3 hits, you can basically die again. So it's a lot better at the higher signature level, especially like you'll see a Waspinator in alliance missions. They'll revive with like a little over 20% or 30% health, and you basically got to hit him a bunch of times again for it to die. So definitely a lot better at the higher Sig levels. At 50% health, his range speed will be increased by 50%, and at 25% health, he'll gain a 24% special damage buff for the remainder of the fight. All of his range attacks, if they hit the opponent, inflict a 24% resistance debuff for 2 seconds. His heavy attacks will nullify a resistance buff and apply a 24% resistance debuff for 5 seconds. So his heavy attacks will help take down characters like Ultra Magnus. They'll completely remove one of his resistance buffs, and as well as apply one for 5 seconds. His special 1 has a chance to gain a 45% chance to gain a precision buff, which will increase his crit rate, and his special 2 instantly inflicts a 24% resistance debuff and nullifies one. And finally, his special 3, the tactical nuke, it'll inflict a burn and cause 100% attack over 5 seconds. And the animation on that's pretty funny. He basically self-detonates and looks like he kills himself, but not. But overall, I think Waspinator is a really good character. I think if you're playing him or even having him as a base defender, either or, really good. Once you drop below those health percentages, I feel like his power greatly increases a lot more. So definitely a good character to consider as well. At number 5, we have Ramjet, and I don't play him too often, just with my 3-star Ramjet in the arenas whenever I have a chance. His signature momentum at SIG level 10, he has a 50% chance on his heavies to gain a 5.1% special damage buff for a max of 10. I think it's a good signature if you're in like a long extended fight, but most of the battles I don't think you're going to be spamming consistent heavies just to get max of 10 special damage buffs. I feel like by then the fight's already over. He also gains a passively 10% armor, which kind of like Megatron, so it makes him a little bit tanky. His heavy attacks are unstoppable and have an 85% chance to stun a burning opponent. So I think that one's pretty good. But that's it as far as his passive abilities. His special one has a 50% chance to inflict up to 4 burns, each dealing 25% damage over 5 seconds. His special 2 has a 90% chance to burn, inflicting 50% attack over 4 seconds, and a 76% chance to stun for 3 seconds. His special 3 has a 90% chance to stun for 3.5 seconds. I've never seen it not stun the opponent, so I don't know if that's percentage is correct. It also applies a 100% resistance debuff for 30 seconds. This helps apply or amplify his damage output to the opponent. The thing I don't like about his special 3, it doesn't really matter, but it actually ends up stunning you once the animation is over. So that part I don't like too much, but it's not that big of an issue. And overall, I think Ramjet, he's decent in a way, but I don't think he does too much damage for him to be better than the rest of the Demolition characters. And last but not least, we have Galvatron at number 6. This is pre-buff Galvatron, so his kit, it's a little lackluster, and overall I feel like his damage output at the moment, it's very low and requires you to play a certain way in order to try to do some damage. So yeah, his signature, Will of Unicron at SIG 15, has a 0.5% chance for each percentage of the opponent's lost health to become unstoppable and gain 12.9% power over 6 seconds. It's a pretty decent signature. Every now and then it activates for me. The power gain isn't that impactful. I feel like maybe at the higher signature levels it might be, but it's decent. Blocking at a range, this is what I don't like. He generates dark energy charges every 0.1 seconds for a max of 30 charges, and it increases his range damage by 3% per charge. It sounds good on paper, but you have to basically block at a distance for 3 whole seconds in order to get the max charges, and then you hold on to them for I think like 6 seconds, and while you're trying to generate them, if you're dodging the opponent's range attacks, they go away pretty fast, so you kind of either have to for 10 seconds dodge around the map and slowly accumulate them, or just hold down block and take a couple of range shots from a distance. Sure, you're blocking them, but you're still taking damage. After the change on the 31st with his buffs, they're going to reduce the time by half, so I think that's really going to help him out. On his heavies, he has a 1% per dark energy charge to inflict dark burn, instantly dealing 90% attack. At max charges, of course, that's a 30% chance to inflict a dark burn. His special one has a 1% chance per dark energy charge to stun for 3 seconds, and his special 2 has a 2% chance per dark energy charge to inflict dark burn. And finally, his special 3 channels 30 dark energy charges and has a 3.3% chance per dark energy to inflict power burn. Basically, that's a 100% basically. I just feel like the way his current kit is, he doesn't do a lot of damage, and I think once the changes go into effect, we can definitely move him up, probably above Waspinator, maybe above Mixmaster, but at the moment he's going to stay at number 6. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Who do you guys think is the best Demolition class character? Who is the worst? I would love to hear your input.